Alrighty, hackers and hackerettes, developers and developerettes, welcome to a new video in our AI journey where we are making Batframe, which is a PHP microframework, completely using AI. So in the previous video, we added sessions and cookies. So if you haven't watched that, please do, because we'll be using some context from this. But if I go to the sandbox right here, you can see that we're using the caching helper, which we are caching the framework key to be equal to just the class of Batframe. And then if we want to run that, we can do pt.3 and then localhost like 4002 and then tag t public, which is going to start a local PHP server, and we can take that here, which we can use to like check our application in the website or like in the browser. And you can see here we have framework class Batframe. This is coming from our view, which we're using the Blade engine, and I believe it is the home view. And yeah, here we have the framework echoed out, and the framework is equal to whatever cache of the framework key is. Okay, so overall we do have everything is working as expected. Next, then what we want to add here is going to be something interesting. We are going to be adding validation. Okay, so the idea of like what I'm thinking how it's gonna work is that I could do like validate, and then we could add something here like a string that we want to validate, or like some kind of data. So for example, we could do like request hello, for example, and then we could just give it an array of things. So required string max 10 and so on. Okay, so this looks like how I would want it to be. And then we could use a validate like all, which we could do so an array of things essentially. So we could do like request param1 and then just give it some stuff like that, and then param2 and so on. So yeah, you can see here how I would expect these things to look like. Then if I open like Batframe itself, like the code for the framework or the micro framework, I could open helpers and you can see we have cache and session. But do we actually have... I don't think we have one for request, honestly. Like we do not have a helper for request, right? Yeah, okay. So first things first, let's add a helper for request. I want you, so let's make this bigger so it's clearer on recording. I want you to add a helper, a request helper to the helpers.php file, which can be or which will be used to access the request class. The usage of the request helper should look something like I keep typing helper instead of request, so request like param1, this would fetch param1 from the request regardless of whether or regardless of it's in get post or in get query params or post body. And then you would have something like request like get, so coming from the get request query, coming from query params, request post. Let's add the word exclusively. So here coming exclusively from, and then here coming exclusively from the post body. Okay. And then we could do also something that we could add later on, which is we could be doing like request validate. And let's also add something like request all, return an array. So return an array of param1, param2, param3, an array of all request data, including get query params and post body. And then we could have something like request all get, request all post, and then request all query, which should be essentially like the same as all get. Get an array of all of the get data, get an array of all of the post data, get an array of all query params. Feel free to add any more helpful functions to the request helper or like to the request class that can make using the microframework easier and more useful. Okay, just a little bit of context that we don't want the AI to stick strictly to these things. Let's see if it can actually get us any more valuable information and any more like useful information. I'm gonna change the mode to be auto mode by using Shift Tab. So that way I don't want the AI to keep asking me for permissions, because I already am using Git, and any change that the AI is going to make, I'm going to review in Git anyway, which should be like the files that are going to pop up here. And now let's see what it's doing. Okay, so right now, because we're starting in a new session, so it has no previous context, but it does have claude.md file, which this file gets read by Claude whenever you start a session in the folder that has this file. And then it reads some other context files as well, like memory and local memory, which lives globally for Claude. So that way you could like persist some preferences about Claude generations across all of your projects. Say, for example, you don't like M dashes in any content that Claude generates, which is something that I did myself. I just told Claude to never create M dashes in any content that it generates by storing that in the global memory, which you can just tell Claude to do and it's going to do it for you, so you don't have to bother about it. But essentially, claude.md is a file that gives instructions to Claude on what this project is and how it should handle different things. You can add things yourself to claude.md. For example, it here adds conventions in the code base. You could even add stuff like how to write tests for the application or like for your project, how to create a new UI file, for example, like a new component, stuff like that. So claude.md gets read on every single like context or like new chat between you if it does not have previous context to it. Okay, so it looks like we do have some files already popping in. I'm not sure why they are only tests, but we'll see. Looks like it began with tests, which is funny. So right here, the request currently being handled null outside the request lifecycle, bound automatically by the app. So right here, we are adding like a bunch of helper functions or helper methods that we're gonna call on the request class in order to Oh, look like it added the only method, which means that using only, we could like get only the data, only give the given input keys, skipping any that are absent. So it looks like it also accepts an array of keys. So you can do like only like param1 and then comma param2, param3, and all of that, which is interesting, except filled true when the input is present and not empty. All of these are things that the AI added because we told it, like, feel free to add anything that you think is useful. And I believe it has added quite a bunch of like interesting stuff. If we look at the Boolean here, for example, we did not think about Boolean. At least I didn't, maybe you did. So truth values are 1, 1, true, true, and yes, everything else, including absence, is false. And then you have an integer, read an input cost to an integer with a feedback when absent, or sorry, with a fallback when absent. So it looks like it's trying to read a specific integer. And then it reads a string, Boolean, and then only. And then here it added like the getters, the ones that we told it to add. Pretty cool, pretty cool. And then looking at Batframe, it called in a swap class on the request. So it does not tell me what the swap class is doing. It looks like it updated its instructions as well, which is very important. If the Claude doesn't do that automatically for you, I believe you should always instruct it to update your Claude.md file. Just be careful that you don't want to bloat Claude.md file. It should update it with things that are new and worth updating. You can even let Claude automatically decide for you which things that should be updated and which things are not, by just hinting it at the prompt. Like, say, for example, update claude.md where you think is necessary for new chats without context to actually grab the most useful information about the application. So then with that, like, very simple line at the end of your prompt, it's gonna keep in mind that it needs to update claude.md wherever possible. Looks like it also added a helper, like information about the request helper right here. Pretty good. I believe it does the swap here. Bind or clear the request helper resolves to call by the app on each request. Also handy in test. Oh yeah, so it swaps the current request with like an actual request object. Okay. So it looks like we have this is what we were talking about, that get request data and query params are the same source, correct? Get post reads naturally when a route accepts both. That's awesome. So exactly what you asked for, full query array, all post, full form, all already existed. Query post now take an optional key. So calling them with no arguments to returns the full array as before. Backwards compatible. Nothing else in the code base relied on the old signature. Cool. So the now instead of query was a param required. Doing query empty is the same as doing all query. Okay. So here request the Batframe request instance. That's cool. Request param1, page 1 with a default. So if we don't have the page, we get 1 as a fallback. Request get. That's beautiful. And I honestly think we did it. This is how easy it is. We could add a request helper, which looks pretty nice to me. So here we have the request.php. We reviewed that already. Dispatch test and the request helper. Okay, now it's actually time to test it ourselves in our sandbox, which is why we even have a sandbox right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go here with framework, and then I'm gonna accept request param. Okay, it's not being read right here because the VS Code did not read the new code that is symlinked from Batframe. But you can see here that this is a symlink that's coming from the Batframe code itself. So we do know that the new code is being reflected immediately because it's just a symlink. So what we're going to do here, I'm just going to add a query param called, what do we call it? Param. And then I'm going to call it like bar. And then you can see here we are correctly getting the value of param here. So here I could just do test. Wonderful stuff. So all of this is useless to me. I'm going to remove all of these routes because I don't care about them. We also have contact routes, which is going to open the contact page. But I don't care about that as well. Can remove this and we can clean this up a little bit. So here we're reading the value of param, but this is on a get request. So let's try to do a post request. So public function like post test. It's going to return a response. And then here, I could just return a response. And then JSON message. Hello there. And then here we could have like a string of, or actually instead of that, we could just say hello there. And just add request name, for example. So hello there, and then this, and then we could just add a little exclamation mark at the end, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open curl, go into get bash, we're just gonna do curl, tag x http localhost 4002. Tag x, by the way, needs post because we're sending a post request. We're gonna send h, which is the header. We're gonna do application type. Sorry, content type, not application type. Content type application JSON, if I can type today. And then tag D, which is going to be like the data that we're sending. And we can do something like this. Test, or sorry, what do we call it? Name. Name is going to be test. Okay, so we can send that, and then we are gonna get oh, because we did post test, so I need to send this to /test, and there we go. Hello there, test. And then that's because our name is test here. So if we change that to Michael, so we're gonna get hello there, Michael. Okay, let me remove the extra space here, I don't need that. And then let's add a default for name just to be anonymous. So now anonymous is going to be defaulted if there is no name. So I'm going to delete, whoops, that's not what I wanted to delete. I'm going to delete like the data that we're sending, and then it's going to default to anonymous. So defaulting is working pretty well. Awesome. And let's go back and then remove the word name and just give it first name, which should also like have data, but it's not the name that we're looking for. And we still get hello there, anonymous. This is great. This is just wonderful. So let's try some other functions as well. So here I'm just going to do request get name. This is not going to work. Yeah, perfect. Let's add also not, or actually just add world like AI suggested. So whenever we're not sending a valid name, it should say world, even though we are sending name in the body, but we're looking at the get right here, which looks in the query parameters. So what we could do is we could do name equals Michael in here, and now we get Michael instead of anonymous or world or whatever we defaulted to, world, I guess. Yeah. So even though when we don't send any data, we're still sending it in the query params and it's being read correctly. Wonderful. It should be the exact same thing for the query. So we do that. We still get Michael. We replace that and we get world instead of Michael because we don't have it in the query parameter. Wonderful stuff. So here we're going to do post. And then let's see, we get world even though we do have name equals Michael in the query parameters. Wonderful stuff. We're going to go back to here. We're going to send Michael. And we are still getting world in here, which is interesting. So this looks like a bug. This looks like a bug to me. Yeah. Because we are looking in the post for name, which we already sent. Why are we getting world here? Let's go back to the code and actually debug this ourselves now. Okay, just to make sure I have post request, we're sending it to the correct endpoint. We have application JSON as the header. And we are sending data name Michael as JSON. So everything here looks wonderfully correct. So it's time to debug. If we do add post, so here we're looking for a key, and then this post key. So that means there's something that sets the post. Okay, do we have a JSON? Oh, we do have the decoded JSON body as an associative array. Okay, so maybe this is the problem. So if I change this to JSON instead of, there we go. But if I change this to like whatever, it still says world. But here, this goes to Michael. Okay, so we do have a problem right now that the post is only looking like in raw post data, but JSON has a specific method. Okay, so what we could do is maybe we can prompt to fix that. I discovered a bug in the implementation. Implementation. I hope I wrote that correctly. Implementation. Whenever we use the request post, it only searches in the body of the request, but it doesn't detect JSON body. Instead, I must use the explicit JSON JSON help or function or method. I want this to be fixed in the following, or by the be fixed by the following logic. Watch this. The post method should look in both row body and JSON. The JSON method should be explicit to the JSON body. Raw post or body, the body method should be explicit to the raw body, alias to post, or no, not alias to post, only, and not JSON. I think this is understandable. So whenever we do body, we are looking in like the maybe form. Actually, let's just swap it with the word form. The form method should be explicit to the raw body only and not JSON, but then we can use post to just search in both. Let's prompt that and see if the edit works. Some fresh juice. Okay, so what else can we test while we're waiting? I think we tested the query. We tested JSON. We tested, tested. Query, post. which has the problem. So I think we can wait for the prompting to finish. I don't know why it's following TDD. I never mentioned that it should follow TDD anywhere. Perhaps this is something related to Claude.md when I initiated it somehow. Let's search for TDD, test driven, no, nothing. Okay. Well, whatever. TDD is fine, I guess. But doesn't matter. We're not writing the code ourselves, you know? But again, this is a really good example of why like engineers are still important, because if engineers do not or sorry, like if you're working with AI and you do not understand engineering, this is a good use case of when the AI is presenting something that actually works, but it's different from like what the business wants. Again, it's very easy to fix by just prompting it. But again, if you do not understand the technicality behind things, AI is not smart enough right now to actually fix like everything on its own without some engineering guidance. Okay, at least not yet. So now we have this thing, post form JSON all post. Now is the time to test it. So here we are gonna look at post, which should technically work right now, and we do get Michael. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. But then if we do form, this should get world. Awesome. If we do query, we should get world, which we do. But then here we could just add name equals Michael, which works. Let's swap this to, we'll just name them like where they're coming from. So here name equals query, and here name equals JSON. So hello there query, so it's coming from the query. But then here when we do JSON, hello there JSON, awesome. So here we do form, or here we do like fallback. So that way it's pretty clear, hello there fallback, so we didn't get from either. And if we do post right now, we should get JSON. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful stuff. So here I can do JSON, and then we're gonna send the JSON. But if I delete the data, we get fallback. Cool. But then if I do this www, wait, I forgot the actual content type. Content type www form URL encoded. Oh yes, there we go. This is what I wanted to, if I can copy it, this is what I wanted to send. I completely forgot that. All right. And then tag D, which is going to be like name equals, what is this? Body. And test equals 1, whatever. So we're getting fallback, which is good. Wait, actually, is it good? I forgot. Yes, it is good because we're looking for JSON here. But if we change this to post, this works. We get body. Wonderful. And then if we change this to body, oh, we get the full thing. Name equals body and test equals 1. Interesting. Interesting. So it's not translating that we're sending multiple parameters. I think this is a second bug, but before we actually judge it, let's actually go back to JSON real quick. And then we're going to do like name 2 and then testing 1. Okay, so we're only getting JSON, which is correct. So JSON is being parsed correctly. That's something. Now let's go back to query. This should give me query. But then let's add something else in the query parameters. So like and test equals 1. What's going on exactly? Oh, I see. This is being read as not literal. Okay, so it's like running something in the background. But anyway, we get only query, which is correct. That is correct. So then our only problem right now is the body. Okay, let's look in the code at the body method real quick. So if you go to the request class and then we look at the body, it just returns a raw body. It doesn't even accept a parameter. Okay, so it just returns like the raw body, like the full body, which is okay. But then can we let's look at the instructions that it created. So post form body form. Oh yes, this is what I was looking for. It's not body, it's actually form. So this is why I was mistaken. Now it should work. Now it should technically return only body. Yes, perfect. So let's change this to form and we get form. Wonderful stuff. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So yeah, looks like we have everything ready in the request functionality. So add request helper. Actually, you know what? I can just click here and let Copilot create a update for me. Or even better, wonderful. Everything works as expected. Push that to GitHub and don't forget to add a tag and a release so Packagist picks up the new code. We can now just wait, look at it as it does everything for us. This feature release would be 050. Let me verify the latest tag maps. If I go to Packagist and then I go to my packages, Batframe, so we're still doing this. I'm gonna get this to the side in case the AI just decides to show some tokens that it should not show. So far so good. I don't see any tokens, but still gonna play it safe. And then I'm gonna refresh here just to keep a look at it, and look at that. We got 050 coming in from github.com, Michael Yusri, Batframe. So wonderful stuff. And we should have the latest release 050, which just was released right now. So this is how easy it is to add new functionality. Which is great. So I think this episode or like this video or this part, whatever you want to call it, is good enough for now. In the next one, we're gonna actually work on adding validations, because we got sucked into the request and we actually forgot about validation, which was what we originally wanted to implement. So we are going to do that in the next video, so this video doesn't become too long. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video.